and because at least turn the volume off. Hang on, put it on mute. Hang on. Okay, there we go. All right, we are officially live. Hey guys, welcome to my regular Wednesday night live stream. Thanks for tuning in, and today we have a comeback guest who hasn't been on my show for over a year. Yay to my friend.
Has it really been over a year?
It's been over a year, you snob.
Wow, that really flew. Was it the debate last time? No, that ended up being on my channel.
That was on your channel. That was the first time I was on your channel because I was banned. Remember, because I put photos up of South African farmers, and YouTube banned me for 3 months. And then we went on your channel.
I was happy to lend you my channel for that, and that was fun. But yeah, what did we speak about last time?
We spoke. Okay, so the very first time I interviewed you, we spoke about your father and Taoism. We spoke about you being a Christian when you were little and then falling out of it and then becoming sort of a lost atheist, but someone who thought you had direction. We didn't speak about nationalism. That's new to you. As in, I think that's new to you. We will talk about that.
Yeah, it's a development since that conversation for sure, and it's really come from my Christianity, big time.
It's been. It was a 3-part interview because we spoke on a Saturday morning for like 3 hours, and then I tried to split it and I turned it into a 3-part interview. I don't even know if any of my viewers have seen it, but if they want to see it, it's a playlist on my channel. Sir James Fox Higgins. I always refer to him as Sir James Fox Higgins because he's my knight.
Apparently, yeah. I think Neil Erickson accused me of white knighting for you as well. So it's confirmed.
Well, Neil Erickson was angry at me at that point in time, but like it's all water under the bridge. I love Neil. I love you. I love everyone. I don't hate anyone. And the left, as mean as you are to me, I love you too.
Maybe.
Maybe. Do you know
See how
what?
you feel when you meet them in the street, hey?
True.
Yeah. So are we going to do an introduction or something like that, or should we just get into yakking as we sort of have?
Let's just get into yakking. Usually what I do is I yak on for a little while, and then you'll respond, and then towards the end I let the audience ask a couple of questions and I pop them up on the screen.
Nice. Oh, you put them into the broadcast, right? So I won't see them here.
No, you'll see. I'll show you. Have a look at this. Can you see that?
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so that's what you can do with StreamYard.
Wow, there you go. Big plug for StreamYard. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, you got to check it out. It's really good. I've noticed that Maddie from XYZ now uses it, and I think it's because I inspired it, so that's kind of cool. No,
you're a trendsetter and a trailblazer.
No, I'm really not. I copied Blair White.
Cool. So what are we talking about tonight? You want to talk about nationalism? Where do we begin?
I want to talk about nationalism and your take on it. I want to talk about the conflicts that exist on the right and the far right. I want to talk about a whole bunch of different things.
Great.
Look, Tim's in the audience. Wait, this is actually really nice. Read that.
On the screen. Wow, that's so cool. That brings up his face and everything. James' first appearance on Dia's channel was when I first discovered Dia. Oh, well, glad to have connected you there. And it's amazing, actually. You guys are all in Melbourne, which will never cease to baffle me why anyone would choose to live in Melbourne, especially these. But you're all there, and I've always been this satellite entity that I think I've convinced you, Dia, in our last phone call that maybe I'm not actually real. And I'm just an AI who only exists on the computer.
Yeah, exactly right.
How would I know?
You don't know nothing. You're just there.
I don't. Yeah.
All right, let's start with my first question to you. My first question to you is that you are now probably fully fledged in your faith in Christ. I don't think you could be considered a baby in your faith, although we're always still learning. Tim reckons StreamYard sucks. Shut up, Tim. Anyway, that led you to nationalism. Do you want to talk about how and why?
Yeah, I guess so. Now I haven't really rewound this particular sequence of growth and learning myself. So we'll see how it unravels if I jump back in time. But on being a baby or no longer being a baby in my faith, I feel that that really happened for me in the last year, where I reached a point where I was no longer really trying to find God around me and hear God's voice. And I reached a point where I just began to accept faith for what it is and
Yeah.
stop demanding constant proof from God of him being real. I had enough experiences spiritually and looked intellectually closely enough for long enough to make a decision based on evidence that God is real. And
Yeah.
so why do I need him to continuously prove himself to me? It's just me being near of God. You know, it's not really me expressing my faith. So I think once I really made that realization, both intellectually and in my heart, my faith began to mature and change. And now it's just a sort of daily ongoing conversation with God, really built on faith, that I really see as a gift, you know, that I'm absolutely sure about Jesus Christ, and I'm absolutely sure of the truth of the Bible. And that gives me the foundation to build my worldview. Now, on the political front,
Yeah.
my return to Christianity came about after a couple of years probably of looking at the political situation in the world, getting red pilled about men and women, about race, and about all of these other ideas that we talk about, and we try to freely talk about despite the disruptions. And so I was already, I guess, pretty aware politically at the time that Christianity fell upon me like a ton of bricks, and then seeing the hostility and the evil in the world towards Christianity that, you know, used to just be in third world countries, developing countries, that you'd hear about it. But now we're seeing it in our own streets and in Western countries. And it's all through our media, and starting to notice the anti-Christian messaging in
Me too.
all of the propaganda that we receive all day, every day, newspapers, TV, radio, songs, all of it. The increasingly unashamed Satanism that we're receiving from the same sources. So
Yeah.
all of this came into much more clarity when I had the sort of the moral and historical framework of the Bible giving me a foundation to understand it. You know, Christianity gives coherence to the lived experience of good and evil in a way that no materialist philosophy can. So that's really great for me and my brain. But how to face the scary, you know, changes that are coming to the West, how to face the end of our civilization as we know it, which is coming, and it will change and turn into something else.
Climate change.
But
Just
we're clearly in the late decadent phase of Western civilization, particularly the British global empire, which America in its own way is a part of. And it's going to collapse in a very chaotic, violent, horrific way, particularly in city centres, which is part of why I think you're insane for living in Melbourne. So to know all of that, how do you live with that knowledge? How do you face the evil and the despair of the world that's bleedingly obvious is right there? Christianity provides for that as well. So I guess we'll get more into how we define nationalism next, and sort of figure out how it relates to Christian theology in that way, or at least Christian history. But yeah, there's my tie-in from Christianity to nationalism.
Do you remember that video I made on civic nationalism versus ethno-nationalism?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. Say again for me.
Do you remember when I sent you a video? Because I don't often send you my videos, but sometimes if I'm really proud of them, I'll send them to you.
Great. Just send me the best ones. You know my time is limited.
Yeah.
That's great. I appreciate it.
No, I wanted your opinion on it, and you said it was good. But basically, how I feel like there is so many holes in ethno-nationalism as well as in civic nationalism. And the holes in ethno-nationalism, in my view, as stated in my previous video, is that no one seems to have a clear construct of what ethno-nationalism is. If you're white, you belong in Australia, even if you're Swedish or whatever it may be. But if you are, and also there seems to be a lot of conflict as to what the hell I am. Am I white or am I not white? Some nationalists say I'm not. Some nationalists say I am. The Sherman Burgesses don't think I am, but
not white enough. Not white enough.
I'm not white enough, which is fine. I'm proud of being half Colombian. Like the thing is,
but you're too white for the SJWs, right? Not white
sorry?
enough for not white enough for the ethno right, but too white for the globalist SJWs who just hate
Exactly.
white people. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so and so I feel like say Australia goes back to the white Australia policy, which I agree with. And I've even said that I predominantly agree with it, but I still think it would be okay to get a small portion of non-whites or immigrants like myself to stay. I mean, I don't want to go anywhere else, but at the same time, yes, I'd be fine if I had to move to Colombia. I speak fluent Spanish. I'd be fine in Spain. But it was you who you were the first person that really clarified it in a video that you did when you said that you are technically not Australian and that you would be fine to move to England if it came to that. Did you want to expand on that and like tell everyone here?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I'd point out is that it always gets difficult when you want to start applying hard and fast labels to yourself, particularly around isms, and people go, oh, what is nationalism? Well, we're trying to give definition to some really broad and ancient concepts here. And so it's really okay if people have slightly different definitions and ideas of what that is, and they're to be talked about and figured out and find the bridge between them. I like to be really specific in what I'm answering and how I answer, because just because I think something is going to have pragmatic function and will have outcomes that are positive and preferable, it doesn't mean I necessarily think that they're morally good.
No, I understand
that. So yeah, like I always like to frame things appropriately. So why don't you ask me a really specific question to kick me into it, and we can go from there.
Okay, so one question is, do you consider yourself Australian?
I am legally a citizen of Australia.
Yes,
so
I'm aware.
In the legal sense, I am Australian.
Same.
In the patriotic sense, in the national, in the sense of does my heart beat true for the Australian flag? I'm not sure, and I've never been quite sure of that. I'm the first generation of my family to be born here,
and
I have. There are obviously really special places for me in Australia where I've either spent time growing up or maturing, or I've visited, and so there are places for me that have special memories associated with them. But there is no history in this land for my family before my grandparents arriving with my dad when he was a boy. So there's basically my line of the Higgins family begins their journey in Australia in the 1960s. And I just don't feel that it's fair for me to stake a claim to this country
I understand
that I've just rocked up in not that long ago. So I see myself more as an Irishman, and it's not all of my blood. It's just the bulk of it, like probably about 75% of my DNA comes from Irish, and like Scots Irish. So Irish a short way back, Scottish a long way back, and before that Viking in the mix. So that's where my ancient history for my family lies, and I've always felt a real calling and connection to the British Isles, I think, because of that longer history that my family has had there. So I love Australia. I love being here. I love enjoying the privileges of being a citizen of Australia, and I'm happy to pay my taxes to be a contributing force towards all of the benefits we face here. But I don't think I would say that I'm a true-hearted, true blue Aussie.
So how many generations, in your view, does it take to become Australian?
Well, until it would be when old Granny Dia asks that question to one of my descendants, and he says, "Yeah, I'm an Australian. I love this country." Now, I'm not saying that just because he says it. it's true, because obviously a lot of people just show up and say it, and it doesn't make it true. But I think
No.
when a family has really invested in a land and a society over a long enough period of time, they naturally become Australian. So maybe 10. I don't think there's a hard and fast number. It really depends on, you know, where the heart lies of that family,
I
and
have
how much time they have invested. So I would say that I'm a legit new Australian. This
same.
term's a bit funny on the right. I'm a legit new Australian because I was born here. I have citizenship, and I've spent, you know, all my life here, and
Yeah.
probably will die here. But I'm not as Australian as the families whose lines go back to colonial times. They're far more Australian than me. And I would say that the Aboriginal families as well, who, you know, despite all the chaos, integrated to whatever degree they did with those early colonials, they're also more Australian than me because they've been here for the ride a lot longer than me. Yeah. So that's how I define it.
The reason I brought that up was because I've been talking to and my chat is aware that I've been saying this for ages. Lana Loktef of Red Eyes TV has been in communication with me for some time, and I've watched some of her videos. She's Russian, yet you just muted yourself. She's Russian, yet claims to be American. Now, she's a first generation American, yet she claims to be American, and everyone follows her. Now, I am not saying I'm not saying anything against her. I like her. I think she's cool. But if she is American, then there's clearly no real Bible with this white nationalism. It clearly is different to every single human. Every single white nationalist or ethno-nationalist thinks of it in a different way. And
well, as soon as you start applying purity, as soon as you start applying purity tests to anyone, you're going to find that virtually everyone falls short. So again, it comes down to, you know, the values of the individual and the values of the group that they're claiming to belong to.
Yeah.
And basically, the reality, I think, operationally speaking, is if everyone who's part of the collective agrees that the new individual is part of the collective, then they're part of the collective, you know. But it takes collective agreement. Now, we don't have that in this country. We're very, very divided about whether people who rock up from third world countries or from other cultures, you know, Chinese, African, whatever, we're very divided. We'll get to South America. It's complicated, you know, because there's a long history there of European colonization. So anyway, yeah, we're divided about what it means, and for me, I come back to being a tribalist in that sense, that we have concentric circles of care and of community around us, and, you know, there's the individual, there's the individual's family, and obviously, to me, there's no one more important or close to me than my family. Now, outside of that, you might say extended family and close friends are the tribe. And then when you get beyond that, it's harder to know who's part of your tribe and who you can trust. So you look for signs that people have something in common with you, whether they're wearing a cross around their neck, and as a Christian, you can go, great, you're part of my church. You know, we're part of the same.
I don't care what color you are. If you're a Christian,
the color of their skin or the color of their eyes or hair, to say, okay, we have common history. A fellow Irishman, our families have survived history together much more closely than the families of me and you know, my African friend here have. So I think people, my granddad used to say, birds of a feather flock together. People are naturally drawn to people who are like them, and that's perfectly okay. Now, for some people, that's a purely intellectual exercise or a religious exercise, and so race and skin color have absolutely nothing to do with it for them.
That's Civic.
Yeah. But, and I think that works, you know, totally fine on a church level, village level, like your local community. On a face-to-face level, I get along with people, and I like people, and I'm interested in people from all racial backgrounds. I've loved traveling. I love visiting other cultures. That's in my dealings with real people in real life. But when you start looking at a country, which is this amorphous idea, and this collection who really just provide statistical market information to the government and to the marketplace, then you've got to make decisions rationally that are going to have the best outcomes for the most number of people. And individual concerns like, am I dehumanizing this person, are probably of less importance when making decisions about what's going to be the best outcome for, the people who already live and belong here. And that's where we're going wrong, is we're applying this sort of rampant individualism, this very libertarian idea of open borders. We're applying that to that individual respect to massive collectives that are being, profoundly changed at rapid paces, and it's not going to end well for anyone. It's going to end in war, and it's really unfortunate. But I mean, we're there. The war has begun. It's just going to get hotter and hotter, and ultimately, people will revert to what tribes they feel most comfortable in.
But in terms of a race war, I don't see people on one side of the road who are white and then people on the other side of the road who are black or Muslim with guns at each other. The race war, so to speak, I mean, yes, it exists in like South Africa and it existed in Zimbabwe, but a lot of people are really hung up on this race war, and I believe it to a point. But then at the same time, I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think the be all and end all is purely based on God. And the real war will be against Christians. I know that sounds narcissistic.
Well, no. What it sounds to me is a bit confused, because you're leaping between a description of a practical action that people might take, and in your description, it's white people on one side of the street, blacks on the other, and they're fighting. And I agree. I'm
being literal.
Yeah. It's not going to go that way. Like, it's going to be far more chaotic, organic, and
just
far less controlled.
With propaganda, with ads, like it's going to keep mixing race.
Hang on. Let me finish my point here. You're going from this description of practical action and possible outcomes into a spiritual or even a moral viewpoint. Which
I am. It's all mixed, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure, but we should talk about one at a time and get clear on what we propose. Because
tell me what I think
it's important for me. For me, it's important. It's morally important to speak the truth and to be truthful, right? And we always make mistakes. We get things wrong, but being truthful doesn't mean being factually accurate all the time. It means saying what you believe is true and acknowledging it if you're wrong, if you're proven to be wrong. The opposite of truthfulness is lying, and that's the great evil. And everyone universally accepts that while lying might be good for us individually sometimes to manipulate people, it's not good when people lie to us. Nobody likes to be lied to. So, speaking truthfully, I like to observe the patterns of human behavior and observe what I understand about history and try to speak honestly about what I predict is going to happen, the way I think things are looking, and to some degree the inevitability of the things that I think I see coming on the horizon. It doesn't mean I like them or agree with them or want to participate in them, So separating those moral arguments from practical observation.
Okay, so do you think there is a race war? Do you think that the agenda is to rid the world of white people? Like, because a lot of people say that's the agenda of the Jews, and that may well be true. I'm not here to deny. People don't think I'm woke.
It would be, again, a foolish category error to say that it's the Jews, because it's obviously not all the Jews. Like, there are lots of Jews who are Christians. There are lots of Jews who are on our side. But if you want to be more factually accurate and point out that there's a disproportionate representation of Jews in positions of power in the propaganda and military, not military, in government in America, and that Israel has,
I would agree with
a ridiculous level of influence in America, that if it were anyone else, like Russia, would be seen as treasonous meddling from a foreign interest. And then when you factor into that Israel also attacked America, an American ship, the USS Liberty, in 1967, I think. Probably wrong. Someone will correct me in the comments, but there's been an act of war against America by Israel. They killed 34 Americans and they got off completely scot-free. And since then, the influence and power of Israel has only grown. So I think it would be fair and accurate, and not in any way anti-Semitic, to honestly say that Israel has deliberately lobbied and taken all kinds of propagandistic action and political and military action to gain a foothold in America. and America is the leader of the Western world at the moment, and it's leading us into hell on earth. And there's probably a connection there between those two things. But you know, I just hate generalizations like it's the Jews. It's a dumb statement. It doesn't make, you know, anyone who says that hasn't thought it through.
It's truly stupid, and we often it's not
entirely wrong. It's just not accurate.
No,
you know,
it's not entirely wrong. It's just stupid. It's like saying every single Muslim out there is a terrorist. More often than not, a Muslim is committing an act of terrorism, but that doesn't make it so. Like, you and I are aware of Imam Tawhidi. You and I are aware of maybe our next door neighbors are Muslim and they're polite and kind. Like, to say that
next door neighbors are not Muslims. Let's be real, dear. We don't live next door.
Mine isn't, but I have my guest next week is Jim Savage, and his neighbors are Muslim, and he gets along well with them. So that's my only point, that like it does happen, and I don't want to talk about generalizations unless I'm purposely trying to define a pattern, and the pattern is that often a Muslim is this, and often the Jews this and that. But I don't want to come across as someone who's promoting any sort of hatred towards the Jews, because I don't have that. But
people will. People will do it.
But the left sees me as an anti-Semite, despite how much I'm not. Do you understand what I mean? So,
yeah, I do, but who cares what the left thinks? They're retards.
No, I'm aware.
Literally all of them to a man are mentally retarded, and we don't take instructions from retards. So
well,
who cares what the left thinks?
Peter Grace thinks you're a dick.
Yeah, but he's a retard, so he would say that, you know. But yeah, like I know what you mean. Jokes aside, and
was that a joke?
The labels again. The labels are just propaganda tools. The anti-Semite label is clearly just a way of people protecting a narrative. You know, so if they can slap you with anti-Semite, and you start defending yourself, oh, I'm really not an anti-Semite, I've got Jewish friends. Like, you've lost. You just lost the argument because you accepted the label. You know, and they're used repeatedly as a tool, as a weapon against us in the rhetoric until they wear out. And racist is pretty much on the cusp of wearing out. Nobody gives a shit about being called racist anymore. No one on the right, because we get it all the time, all day, every day, and we just don't care. I made a video about it on my channel called "I Am a Racist. Here's Why."
I saw it.
And it's a breakdown of the etymology of the word racism, which stems from racialism, which is a very, very new term in our history, and it was invented by propagandists as a means of basically controlling the narrative and leveraging power. So yeah, you know, you just got to do your homework and read some books and read some history real about it, and stop giving a damn what people call you. You know, obviously people, when the left go after them, and the left will come after all of us at some point if they haven't already. They've come after you.
They haven't come after you, and I hope they don't.
They will. No, they will. They'll come after everyone eventually, and you've got to be prepared for that. It's part of the culture.
Well, they just made me stronger. What they've done is actually show me who my true friends are. What they did was show me how much stronger I am. I'm not going to talk about any job, whether I have one or not. But they've just made me strong. Like, everything that's happened has been better for me, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. All of the setbacks and the pushbacks that I've had from people, you know, like I don't like to talk about it, but yeah, there have been elements of activists, you know, who have tried to upset my business relations with people, and you know, they haven't been able to hurt me because of the way I work and the way I run my business, and the various, you know, I work for lots of different people and it's always changing. So I'm not as vulnerable as somebody who just has a job at a shop or whatever, and as soon as they get caught out and doxxed, you know, the left rely on their mob mentality to bring out the fear in the employers to get us fired, and that's one of their weapons at the moment. So you know, people need to be rational in how they conduct themselves so that they don't make themselves vulnerable to the enemy. I think that's
agree.
Tactics of war one-on-one.
Screen. I just want to quickly answer it. What was my take on the UK Pakistani rape gangs, dear? Well, my take is that they were protected by the British media and nothing was mentioned about it for years and years, and that was the inception or the catalyst for what happened to Tommy Robinson. And so I mean, obviously rape is evil and bad, and I don't understand why. I mean, they're in prison. A lot of them are in prison, so that's good. But my take on it is that there's still too much flim flam, or whatever the word is. There's not enough in the UK at the moment. The UK is broken, and yeah. Do you have any comments on that?
The UK is run by a pedophilia racket.
Well,
America is run by a pedophilia racket. They traffic children and they rape them and kill them
you can't say
as
that.
they can. And they do it. They absolutely do it. There's an underground elite, and members of the royal family have been recently caught as part of it.
Certain members have, yes, but to say that, yeah, exactly. I don't think the Queen. I don't think the government likes that about her son. She seems to be. If you listen to her Christmas messages, she has a great love for Christ. She just has a disgusting son.
I'm not saying every single person in the royal family or in the British government is a pedophile, but there is a huge contingent of people in the power, in the levers of power, who are, and of course, you're going to have all of these structures like the Rotherham Police and whatever covering up for the people who pay their bills.
Sorry, keep going.
It's pretty rational, for people to protect their interests, even if their interests are evil.
Yeah. Well, I think many people don't talk or discuss the fact that Paul Keating's daughter was part of this sex racket. Paul Keating is a Melburnian politician. I'm not sure if you're aware, who was once a premier. Sorry. Well, because I don't know. I don't know the premiers of the other states, not all the time, unless they make the news and I do something bad.
He's my favorite prime minister from my childhood, just because he was so entertaining to listen to him. He was great.
Yeah.
Just the way he laid into people was hilarious.
Yeah, but I feel like every single government, at least Western government, has a pedophilia protection ring in it.
It's Satan doing his work since day dot. Like it's the same game as Babylon and Sodom and Gomorrah. It's just being played by different players. But they serve evil, and they're going to find all kinds of disgusting to us, delicious to them ways to do the most unthinkable evil things you can think of, because that's what power does. It corrupts soul. It it invites temptation and the greed in people's hearts, and it brings out this sort of evil. And so we're not going to make this stuff go away. We can minimize it, and we can push it out of our society, and we can become less tolerant. And I think that would be good. We're way too tolerant in the West now. Tolerance has become our death now. There was a question back here I saw.
Oh, okay. Tell me which one it is. Who is it?
It was Philip Cunningham.
Okay. Yeah, I'm funny about Philip Cunningham. Sometimes he's so lovely, and then sometimes he's such a dick. Is it the one, James? Are you a groper?
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about Phil, and it's a reasonable enough question. But what makes a groper? I totally support the groper movement. I think Nick Fuentes has made himself elevated himself to hero status in the last couple of weeks, and I think what those particularly the Catholic young men doing, exposing the frauds in Conservative Inc. Doing a great job. So I wish I were a groper, but I don't really participate in the meme wars, and I don't really go to these events. So I think that would be unfair of me to claim groper status, even though I want to.
Look at this. You are calmly based as fuck.
That's worth $2. Thank you, Portland Co-op.
Yeah, he's cool most of the time. Okay, so let me just get rid of that. I was going to ask you something. The conflict. What do you think about conflict on the right? Because there's so much. I was talking to someone just before we went live. His name is Brad, and I don't know if he's okay with me mentioning this, but anyway, I'm going to mention it. Sorry, started. He's sort of really, what's the word? Fed up with the right, and just how much division there is. Do you think there is ever going to be a place where people on the right can put aside all the pettinesses, or do you think that's impossible because there's the far right that thinks eugenics is okay? That I could never agree with that, and there are some who go, "Oh, eugenics gets a bad rap." There's the ones who believe that black people are inferior to other people, and I just believe that different races have different talents. So I would call that race realism or race.
That's just girl speak for we're not equal. That's just really pleasant, like, oh, we're all special and unique and different, but we are all different.
Everyone has different talents. But how do you define the standard of superior? Because I don't think I am superior to you. In fact, I think intellectually you are far more superior than I am.
I think you're superior to me at some things, and this is a category error where people start going, we're the master race, you know, we're the superior race. Superior at what? Be specific.
Exactly.
Specific, right? Because there are things.
That's my point.
Africans do a lot better than us. There are things that we do a lot better than Aboriginal. There are things that Chinese do a lot better than us. But what are your interests? What are your values? And how does it work on a big scale in society? And and more importantly, the question of our age is, how does mixing all of these different people with different strengths and weaknesses together in close proximity, how does that play out for a country, for a society?
See that screen? That's what pisses me off. Yeah, that's stupid to me. No offense. I know you're a buddy, dude, but like I find that statement stupid.
What? You find the comment you just put up stupid?
Yes.
Eugenics? No. He's completely right. Eugenics gets a horribly bad rap because people
to kill people.
That's not what eugenics is.
No, okay.
Again, you've been propagandized. You've been propagandized.
All right, let me have a look. I'm going to do a share screen. Definition.
Definitely. Okay. Well, it better be the Webster's of 1890, or I'm not going to accept the definition. 1890.
I'm going to Merriam-Webster. Relax, dude. Don't get so 1890.
Let's go 1828 Webster. That would
I don't know if that exists. It says. Hang on.
I bet you eugenics wasn't even in the Webster's. No.
Wait, give me a second. I'm gonna go and do a screen share.
All right, you can use a modern dictionary because it's not in the Webster 1828 dictionary.
Oh, hang on, I did the wrong thing just then. What did I just do? Share screen.
No, look, while you're looking that up, I'll give you my definition, and we'll see if it agrees with the dictionary. I don't accept the authority of the dictionary, of course, but eugenics is. Okay, you want to start with the book? Go on.
The practice or advocacy of controlled selective breeding of human populations as by sterilization to improve the population's genetic composition. Now, remember, we both agree that Margaret Sanger was evil, because I'm pretty sure we've agreed on that in the past. She's the one that. Well, okay, I would assume that you and I would agree that she's evil. The fact that she wanted to rid the world of Black people. She was an advocate for abortion, an advocate for eugenics. There's your meeting. Since 1828, it says at the top of this page. Okay, now you give me your definition and I'll take it off screen share.
Well, I just want to see, while we're doing homework live on the air, I just want to see what the etymology online dictionary says for eugenics. Doctrine of progress. Here we go. 1883, which I think is a far better year to draw a definition from. Eugenics is a doctrine of progress in evolution of the human race or race culture, coined along with adjective eugenic by English scientist Francis Galton, on analogy of ethics physics from Greek eugenes, well-born of good stock of noble race. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with forced, government enforced civilizations or any of those Holocaust associated memes that we have been planted into our heads. And they've taken eugenics, because what eugenics as a concept means for smart people is that they're going to choose their partners based on merit, based on good genes, based on being of the same stock and from a good background. People are interested in genetics, and they make their decisions based on those sorts of things. Now, if you can turn the idea of judging people based on their genes into some kind of unthinkable evil, as they did by associating it with Hitler and the Nazis, you can throw up the term like eugenics and make it into a universally evil thing, but it's not at all. Eugenics does get a really bad rap.
That's fine. I can accept everything you just said, and maybe that's what Just Saying always meant. He never explained it in detail to me. It's hard for him to do that, like through a chat anyway. So
yeah, well, I assume if somebody means genocide, they'll say genocide. You know, I
maybe,
don't like reading
maybe,
things.
but the point is that eugenics today doesn't have that definition. You're going off and on. It's like the word CUNT.
No, I
CUNT.
don't accept the modern definition. So you can't
No,
put the authority of the dictionary on me.
no. I wasn't trying to. I was trying to show you that what that definition is how I've applied it in my head. So if that's what the definition is, and it means that someone is okay with aborting someone who happens to have Down syndrome, that is what eugenics is seen as today. So you guys can pull.
But it's wrong. So I'm trying to fix an error in your vocabulary. There's an error in your vocabulary that was deliberately given to you.
Not about that. The word gay to describe a homosexual now, but the word actually meant happy. So
I reject the modern meaning of it too. I have plenty of gay days, and they have nothing to do with homosexuality.
Okay, fine. You're clearly in a higher class of human than I am, because you use words as they were.
Not more than you, just more than the liars who have filled our heads with these lies, you know. And I think this is important to me because, you know, I'm a writer too. I love literature and I read a lot. And for me, the origins of words are like, words are the memes. Words are, how do I want to put this? Words are like the chromosomes of the informational realm. Right. And they develop and change over time, but they're passed from person to person as memes. And they have traced through history with our genes in a weird symbiotic relationship. Mind and matter moving through history as one. So if I'm going to take an interest in my family history, where I come from and what my genes define about me, then I need to take stock of the ideas that define me as well, the ideas that have become my axioms and my lens for the world. And then I have to examine, where have those ideas and axioms come from? And it's when you start looking that closely at, why do I think what I think, and is it true? You start to find out how much we are a product of propaganda. Our generation is a product of lies.
I accept everything you've just said, except for the fact that you've still got to apply. Hang on, I just see this word here.
I see it. I won't say it.
No. So in 1544, that word was an ancient term that meant faithful and loyal friend. To have a see you next Tuesday meant having a friend who always had your back, never abandoned you, and provided friendship and support, even through hard times. So under that particular definition...
That is absolutely fake. I would wager that is just a totally made up meme by some Aussie trying to fool non-Aussies. It does matter, because you're just going to accept whatever definition somebody says, and that's...
I'm trying to illustrate a point.
Get to choose the meaning of words. No one gets to choose the meaning of words, right?
No, okay,
they are collectively forged over a very long period of time.
The application of the word is different to the specific definition. Today, the word gay.
No, it's not a definition error. I want to really get this through, because I think it's beneficial to the audience. Stay with me here. It's not a definition error. It's a category error, right? Because you're talking about eugenics.
Well, I didn't mean to bring it.
Yeah, you're talking about eugenics being evil because it's got this association with
abortion, and just
gassing the Jews and abortion and sterilization of Africans in Israel and all of these other kinds of things that happen, or have happened in history. Yeah, I mean, yes, you can. If we're going to leap into the moral, yes, it's bad. But if we're getting really clear on the concepts here, why are those evil deeds, genocidal deeds, performed? They're performed, you know, let's take the case of Israel sterilizing black people.
Israel.
It's performed to maintain the racial purity of the controlling interest in the nation. So the Jews want to keep
black people. Israel is... What did you say? Israel is doing what to black people? I've never heard that.
Let me speak for a minute, because you'll hear it.
I'm asking you to clarify what you just said.
Yeah. So what I said was that the reason why these evil deeds are done, like sterilizing people of other races and, you know, throwing them into alleged ovens and alleged gas chambers and all of these things that people talk about, but we can all agree the reason why these things have done or allegedly done is to maintain the racial purity of whichever group is in control there. So if the narrative that people accept about Nazi Germany is 100% true, then the Aryan Nazi Germanys were trying to get rid of the Jews to maintain racial and cultural purity, right? And the thing is, it is eugenic, because if what it means is that it affects the gene pool and changes the demographic and changes the broader gene pool of a geographical area in a way that strengthens the culture who wanted that to happen, that is eugenic, right? So so those things are properly categorized as part of the category of eugenics, but they're not all of what eugenics is. And this is the category error here. Cannot say eugenics is bad because some things that come under the category of eugenics are bad, because there are many things that come under the category of eugenics that are really, really good, right? Like choosing a spouse based on their character.
That's
right? Like getting to know the parents of the person you're considering marrying,
sure.
like looking at their health history, like being aware if there's a history of heart attacks in your family or a history of addiction or whatever it is, being aware of these genetic influences from the past and using that knowledge to affect your decisions in the present, that is also eugenics. And it's a very, very good thing. And no one would say it's a bad thing. So
that isn't
eugenics is not bad. Eugenics is morally neutral. Eugenics is morally neutral because it could be good or bad.
No, that's fine. I can actually literally accept that. But I find the concept of my understanding of eugenics, I never would have debated against that though. My understanding and application of how eugenics is seen today, which is to sterilize and abort children with Down syndrome, that to me is a form of eugenics as well, perhaps. Maybe eugenics is a word that can be used for both those things. That form of eugenics is one I take issue with on a moral Christian level.
Fair enough. Yes.
That's literally my whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm all for giving eugenics a proper day in the sun to talk about it, because it's how all the nations that got great, was through various models of eugenics, and there are non-violent ones available, and they're being taken away from us by the liars as well, through the propaganda, through Hollywood and the hedonism and nihilism that we're being fed. Yeah.
I love how you talk to people.
Zero Tolerance said, it's Dia's truth, her lived truth, guys. That's great.
Is he being a dick?
Yeah.
Anyway. See how my audience loves and disrespects at the same time.
So that you've got a question up.
Sterilized. I'm assuming he's asking you. You're the guest. If he was asking me, he would have written Dia. Should rapists be sterilized?
I think rapists should be sterilized by the method of hanging them upside down from the arch in Town Square by their nutsack until it snaps off. I think that's what should happen to rapists. Yeah,
I would agree. I think. Do you think, though, in your Christian head, that there is a chance for them to be transformed by Christ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I don't think they should be killed, but they should have their nuts removed. They don't deserve. They deserve gene death if they're going to rape a woman. They deserve to not have children.
Yeah,
and hopefully it will diminish their aggressive urges as well. I've just done it to my dog, not because he raped anyone, just because he's a dog. And I'm hoping that it doesn't, weaken his personality too much because he's a big tough dog. But we'll see.
Yeah, they became eunuchs apparently.
Yeah, that's fine, and if they don't commit another crime after that, leave them alone, send them off to a monastery or something. But yeah, you don't want to ask me what I think should happen to pedophiles. that's another whole other thing.
Will I be taken down?
No, nobody wants to hear that on a Wednesday night. What night of the week is it? Wednesday.
Yeah, it's hump day. What about your opinion on civic nationalism? Now, this is where it's more idea-based. Now, people say, I only feel comfortable when I see my own people, my own tribe. Now, I understand that to a degree, because when I'm around Latino people or I hear them, I don't always have, I can't help but feel at home with someone who speaks Spanish. Like when I was overseas, I was in Japan by myself and I was like, I wish I had someone here with me. Then I ran into a Spanish couple and then we became a little threesome, and it was really nice because I was like, I felt like I had someone to gravitate towards. But the same thing happens with Aussies. Aussies are always traveling, and then I found Aussies as well. So I get feeling that sense of tribe that everyone talks about. But at the same time, having an idea-based society is noble, and I don't think I completely believe that there are Black people who can integrate into society and be perfectly fine. So people who don't want that to happen, I mean, now people don't want it to happen because of larger numbers and it's just too much. But I understand the pros and the cons of civic nationalism. What do you think of civic nationalism and an ideas-based society? Go ahead.
There was a lot in there, so I can't tell you what I think of all of what you said.
No, unpack the last two things I said. What you think of an ideas-based society and civic nationalism at large?
Well, every society is partially based on ideas. There's no getting around that. You know, even a totally homogenous, single race nation has ideas. And in fact, ideas are the reason why people are beginning to realize that that race matters, because what we're seeing is that while you quite rightly say there are individuals of all races who can fit into societies that they're not native to. You know, you get your Somalian brain surgeons or whatever the cliche is. You know, they exist. There are always exceptions, of course, but the success of those individuals.
Sorry, I had to. Go ahead. Sorry.
The success of those individuals is in conflict with the idea that just because some of them do well, that then bring in lots and lots of them is going to be good for them and the host society. So again, people switch back between that micro and macro level and that individual and collective level really willy-nilly in their decision making, and they get very confused. There's different rules for collectives than there are for individuals, you know, and how you treat an individual is not appropriate for how you treat an entire collective. And this idea, this enlightenment idea of individualism that's been really, really promoted by the libertarian movement in particular, and you know, Ayn Rand was all about it. This idea of rampant absolute individualism is just wrong. It's not how humans actually behave. It's an ideal that very, very few people can operate in with any level of trustworthiness. And the truth is that, you know, the weak-willed masses need to be controlled, you know, and the effects of mixing up a bunch of different demographics together on the host country are so clearly throughout history universally bad for the host society that, you know, CivNat, it's just wrong. You know, it's in the right direction, and I hope a lot of the CivNats will come over to the full truth, because it's not the fullness of the truth.
Like
you
the
know,
Dusty Bogan. The Dusty Bogan.
Yeah, like all the Proud Boys, you know, like they're on their way, and I love them, you know, and we agree about much, especially as Christians, for those who are Christians like Dusty, but the big picture has a very different, we get very different data and very different messages from history about how humans really operate when they're put into large groups in close proximity. And if you're not going to rationally observe those outcomes and make policy decisions based on them, even if they do encroach upon individual liberties, then you're going to lose your country, and another group with other ideas is going to take over. So whether an ideas-based society can survive is based on whether they're very, very careful about making rapid and large demographic shifts that will diminish the possibility of those ideas surviving by the new people in that society.
Why is your mic so big?
You know what they say about big mics? Lots of bass.
Lots of bass. What happened to Dia's echo? Wow, they're really ripping into me today. My echo, that only happened for 2 live streams, guys. You act like it happened on every single one. I had an issue with it twice.
I think you should wait till people use some shekels before you answer their comments or read their comments out. There's a super chat option, guys, so throw us your shekels.
I don't really go out of my way to say, oh, please super chat me. Like, I've done it before, but
well, why would anyone pay you if you read out all their silly comments for free?
That's true. Maybe I should start being more strict.
See, there's eugenics to be explored in this idea as well, but we won't go there.
No, we won't go there. What do you think about women in politics?
Bad idea.
Yeah, it's actually made a video about it, and the left got really frustrated. Like, she's going against her own. And I didn't say that it was bad for
Oh,
all
you're
women.
part of the sisterhood, are you? You're absolutely on the same page with everyone, every other human who has a vagina. Yeah, like your own. It's so nuts when women think that they are part of some bigger unified tribe. Women have
Well,
been killing each other and stealing each other's men throughout history too. So, you know.
well, you have been a huge part in my political transition. It's like the Blairs and the Neils and all of them, they're fine. They've done well, I suppose, but the things you actually say have been profound to me. Like, you're the one who's actually been profound to me, not necessarily the other guys, although they have absolutely also had some sort of effect on my politics. You've been the most one that's given me epiphanies. And
Well, I shall try to be very careful in future to make sure I don't lead you astray.
you're molding me, you're shaping me. But one of the things that you said that I found interesting was, I've always said that, and I say sometimes human beings in general, gender traitor. Shut up, Melissa. She's joking. She's on our side.
I don't know how you can read comments while you're speaking at the same time. I have to completely ignore them or completely yeah.
No,
You're a woman. Yeah. It
yeah,
probably is nothing. Yep.
it's really easy for me. But what you said, because so generally speaking, human beings tend to assume certain things as a fact. And one of the things I used to assume as a fact was that the feminists of old, the very beginning ones, the suffragettes, were noble, great women. And I still do believe that in large part. But you did a video where you described how they would go to different men and actually label them, and then they'd commit suicide for being labeled as not real men. Or do you remember that video that you made?
Yeah. There's about the white feather movement, which was a sort of, I guess you could say it was a sub movement of the bigger suffragettes movement. But yeah, that really happened.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? Women back then didn't even have the ability to vote, yet they still had plenty of sway. Like, clearly, if a man is killing himself and his reputation really matters to him, and he's killing himself over what these women, now they're choosing to kill themselves, they're being weak-minded, I suppose, to a degree. But the point is that,
I mean, I think we should reserve our judgment of anyone who lived through World War One in Europe. You know, it was a pretty. I mean, we're headed for our own horror show, but it's a time that we can't possibly understand because we've grown up in such wealth and comfort and ease.
that we're fighting
about. I'd be very slow to judge anyone who killed themselves during that period.
True. I just mean generally speaking. Dia's a Sephardi. I'm not Sephardic. If I was, I'd just no, I'm really not. They keep saying.
No, you were asking. Your question was, what do I think about women in politics? And I said bad idea. And you know, I mean, that's the very short answer. It's still true.
That's answer. But do you believe there are exceptions to the rule? Because I'm okay.
To which rule? To which rule?
To any, like, there is always an exception to the rule. So if we're saying that women are bad for politics, clearly some women are fine. Like someone like Ann Coulter would be.
I'm not. I don't think women are bad. I'm sorry to nip. I'm sorry. I'm always nitpicking you, but
you really
I like to be really precise with language, and I know it's a real drag sometimes for others, but it's just how I am. It's not that women are bad for politics. Women are very, very good for politics, and women are a very, very important part of politics. And women have always had immense, if not equal, if not greater than male influence in the way politics work. But politics is a proxy. You know, the democratic vote, that is again a very, very new and always failed invention. Every other time it's been tried in history to whatever degree, never to the degree that we have it today, it's always disastrously failed. So I think democracy is a really bad idea too, of any kind. But women participating in democracy equally to men is an injustice, because first of all, men were eligible for the draft, which was how in England and later in America they got the right to vote. Was that, well, we're going to potentially throw your body into the line of fire for your country. So we figure you should have some say in how you, how you represent, who you're represented by in government. That's not the case in every democratic country. It hasn't gone that way every time. But women got the vote later by their protests and their politicking, their nagging, and the shaming of the suffragettes movement to say that women should have this too. And it coincided with the largest number of European men being killed by each other in a war that never should have been fought for the profit of international bankers. So, so women gaining disproportionate power at a time that men were dying or were away. And the bottom line for me is a philosophical one with women in democracy is that because the ballot is a proxy for the bullet, because every time we vote and our politicians get together to discuss their differences and debate in our parliaments, that is always a proxy for war, because the other way to get things done would just be to go to violence, right? Just get your people together, just kill the people you disagree with, and take power. And every time we don't do that, every time we resort to discourse or democracy, we're putting that violence down the line. But the violence will emerge eventually as things degenerate and as dystonia sets in and things fall apart. And women are not going to participate in that violence directly.
Maybe some will, but most women, I think, will be
so few.
They'll be cowards.
Yeah, so few of them will participate in that violence, and they shouldn't, because if they have husbands, their husbands are doing it for them and protecting them. But so few of them will participate in that violence that it's hardly fair that they got to vote for the government policies that made that violence come about, because our civilization is degenerating of voting. It's been a very, very bad outcome for the West. The collapse of the West is going to be riding on the coattails of the female vote. And so, I think my wife should be queen of the universe. She's great. But that doesn't mean that every woman you meet is qualified to vote.
No, that's why I made a video on this, and I had you look over my points. And I'm not of the opinion that all women are bad in politics. I'm not of the opinion that all women shouldn't be able to vote. I do agree that historically speaking, women have been a problem in politics. Women think it's okay to kill their own babies now, and men are allowing it. Men are no longer leaders. They're going, okay, yeah, sure. I think Julia Gillard was bad. I think the one in Sydney at the moment, I forgot her name, but I've made plenty of videos about her. The abortion 9 months lady, the Armenian lady, what the hell's her name? New South Wales?
No idea what you're talking about.
The Premier of New South Wales.
Oh, all right. Is it Berejiklian still?
That's it. Thank you. Yes, it is still her.
Yeah.
She's horrible. I think women have been a huge problem. So I think rather than give women the vote just because women deserve it, because vagina, give people the vote after they've passed certain tests, after they've had military training, or after they own property. There should be particular criteria. That's what I think, though. I don't think it should be based on vagina.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your criteria, any amount of criteria that's more specific than your reproductive organs is superior. But we're not going to be able to implement that, and we're not going to be able to turn that. This is the thing is, I guess, partly where a lot of civnats and the hangers on to the now dead conservative movement, I think they're missing the reality that the people who control the levers of power in the Western world are not going to give it up through any means, democratic or otherwise. They're not going to give it up without a bloody fight, and we're not going to be able to, through purely political means, turn around the degenerate communist direction that we're heading in Australia and in America and in the UK. So, we could talk about what we'd like the government to do on our behalf, but it's not going to happen. So I think we're philosophical principles about what works and what doesn't, or empirical historical means.
Yeah, sorry, the female brain shouldn't be voted for politics.
Again, just saying is right, because I know from experience, my wife, though she is absolutely intelligent enough to participate in the conversations, she's happier when I don't share that stuff with her and we don't go into that. Her interests lie in much purer, more beautiful places than the grime and muck of politics. So yeah, you know, I mean, Dia, you know, I mean, we don't need to bullshit here. I love what you do. I enjoy the show, and I think you're great. And you're really great at getting interesting guests and providing interesting conversations for people. That's awesome, and you love it. But you would be happier if you were married to a really good man who took care of you, and if you had 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 babies, and you were enjoying your life as a wife and mother, homemaker, and doing things like this maybe for a hobby, you know. But you'd be much happier in that life, wouldn't you?
This is a hobby. Yes, I would be happier in that life. I don't dispute that at all. I completely agree. But in saying all of that, I would probably still have that interest there. And I'm not gonna lie, like, you getting into politics, you can't help but notice some friends drop off, and that has happened, and that's fine.
It's a damn dirty business. It always has been, and
It is.
you know, most women have no interest in it at all, except for what can they get out of it.
Yeah.
And so let's not provide the avenues for them to get anything out of anyone that they haven't earned through virtue and being a person of quality and of productivity.
Yeah. Can you see that question on the screen?
Mm.
Remember what I told you off camera? What are your thoughts on?
Is it okay to read Penthouse?
I didn't even read it, by the way.
I didn't know there was any reading involved in Penthouse. But I must admit, the only Penthouse I've ever owned was when I was a teenager, and it was like a pictorial edition where it was just pictures and tiny little captions. So I never considered anyone would read Penthouse. I've never read a Penthouse. I've never picked one up since that one when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the quality or topic matter of a Penthouse magazine would be. I think it's bad to look at pornography.
Yes, I agree. Don't you think, however, that whoever someone interviews on a channel, that does not make that channel pornography, that does not make that channel anti-Christian?
Did you take your clothes off?
Nope.
Did he?
Nope.
Did you tell people that they should buy porn for their kids?
No, I didn't. In fact, I said the opposite. I literally said that naked photos is a bridge to pornography, and that you wouldn't like it if your own kid was doing it. And I even said we should do a Bible study when I visit him up in Sydney.
Then talk to whoever you damn well please, and other people should just not watch if they don't like it.
But thank you for that. Oh my God, it's able to talk to a level-headed conservative. All right, there's a question there on the screen.
I'm not a conservative. I reject that label.
Okay, level-headed Christian? Can I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
When is
First
James?
and foremost.
Good. Yes, exactly. When is James coming to Melbourne for a live concert?
Goodness me, what a thought! It's been quite a few years since I've done a concert in Melbourne.
I'll only come if I get VIP tickets.
Well, to be honest, I think it's getting to the point soon where I would probably have to do it in someone's lounge room, you know, in a completely private and unpublicized way. So
yeah,
Margot, you'll know about it if it's happening, but I'm not gonna publicize it, I think, publicly.
Penthouse conservative. Wow, they're really on this subject now.
Yeah, well, that's why you know, again, not wrong. Penthouse fits pretty well into the conservative Inc. narrative, and that's why I reject conservatism. Conservatism has failed to conserve anything. It can't conserve the protection of babies. It can't conserve the lady bathroom. And now and I don't know if it's meant ironically, but now people are saying that Penthouse is conservative because Damien Costas invited Gavin McInnes and Milo Yiannopoulos to come and speak in Australia. Great, like good on him for doing that, and it would have been nice if it had worked, but that doesn't make that publication in any way conservative. And I'll give you a clue. Well, maybe it does, but that's why I don't want part of conservatism anymore. That's why I reject and I'm beginning to really loathe the conservative movement.
I need to think about this labels thing. I think I'm agreeing with a lot.
It doesn't mean anything. Conservatism only means something if you are literally, you know, fighting back the demonic horde from crushing your country. And conservatives have apparently done the exact opposite. They've just gradually conceded to all the liberal agenda.
It's niceness. You know? Christians have let liberalism seep in, and they're allowing too much tolerance for the sake of not viewed a certain way, and they're stuffing themselves up. So I completely agree. Zero Tolerance has given $2. Thank you for your super chat. I digest politics constantly while hubby works. Do what works for you. I agree with that. I think women should.
Don't do it. I think you shouldn't do it.
Fair enough.
You'd be much happier if you didn't. I mean, you know, you don't have to do what I say at all, of course, but I think you'd be much happier if you didn't. I would be much happier if I didn't spend any time on politics.
Oh, crap. Oh, no, that's right. Yeah. No, you cannot generalize like that, James. Dear Beltran, it would all depend on the quality of the husband. I don't know what that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which, but you know, a woman's happiness does hinge very much on the quality of the husband, for sure. A wife's happiness.
Well, we didn't say anything about that, I don't think. I don't recall anyway. What is this? Is Dia still appearing in the Christmas issue? Yep, I'm appearing completely nude in the Christmas special with a manger on my lap. Yep, that's exactly right.
God
okay.
Have mercy on you, Dia.
I'm being sarcastic. They you just said I'm allowed to interview whoever I want. I don't know why they don't think the same thing. It's very okay. This is what I wanted to talk about. Don't you think sometimes the right acts really left? It's like they get angry on behalf of Blair. How dare they not let Blair go on Sky News and that guy gets fired and blah blah blah. I bring a transgendered person on my channel and I get hounded for it and I get told that I'm promoting it. No, I'm not promoting anything. I'm just bringing on someone to have a chat and I'm hearing what they say and I'm even admonishing what they're saying. Don't you think the right acts left? Go.
I think most people are idiots, and I think you care way too much what idiots think.
That's probably true. Maybe I should just care less and still keep. Yeah. Well, I'm still interviewing her.
An important skill is being able to organize your levels of care in the opinions of others.
No, I agree. That's true. I do agree with what you just said. There's a $5 super chat, but I can't see it. Let me.
I can get it up. It's from Paulie. You're a stooge, Falzone. Who says, and I've seen this account show up a few times on the Uncuckables. Tonight's menu: rationalized special white supreme pizza with no soy. Thank you, sir. I'll take that.
Rationalized. Hello. Oh, sorry, you cut out at the end there.
Yeah, hold the anchovies. Nothing fishy going on here.
I didn't. No, okay. I didn't say it wasn't. I said that just naked photos of women in general without any penetration and sex is not porn. But I did say it was a bridge to porn. Anyway, I'm gonna stop explaining that.
Are you saying that that Penthouse is not porn when it's softcore because it's just naked women?
Yes, I did say that during my chat.
That's wrong. That's
fine. I'm fine with people disagreeing with me, and that might be wrong.
No, it's not that we're disagreeing with you. It's that you're wrong. It's not a matter of agreement. It's just you're incorrect. A picture of a naked woman in a Penthouse magazine is certainly porn.
But they're still saying that I advocated and all this other stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never advocated it, but that's fine.
I don't care if you speak to pornographers. You know, Jesus dined with some pretty questionable characters as well.
Yeah,
it's more what you say and if you're promoting it. And I don't know because I haven't watched the interview. So
I didn't promote it. I did pop the thing up on the screen and I did show and I did say that I don't find that to be porn. I did say that, but I also said it's a bridge to porn. So I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong.
Cool.
That's fine. No, let's talk about, before we go, Rational Rise TV, and let's plug that. You have undertaken quite a big endeavor. What was the inspiration for that and what's going on with it now?
All right. So for your audience who don't watch Uncuckables or my current occasional videos, Rational Rise TV is a platform that I've set up. It's an independent video streaming platform that has nothing to do whatsoever with Google, YouTube, or any of their algorithms or their servers. So it's an independent and isolated safe space for right-wing Christian nationalists, like us, or people who share some of those values with us, to create content that's good, true, and beautiful. And at the moment, I'm syndicating the Uncuckables, my own programs, and all of my previous shows. And we've got Wilm's Front, we've got the XYZ Live, we've got Maddie's Modern Life, we've got Dusty Bogan, and Dia Beltran is going to be joining us very, very soon. So we are basically creating a collective where all of our people can come together in one place. And I've set it up in a financial structure where people can join and get full access to all of our collective content, as well as a whole bunch already there. And I'm producing more, particularly from the new year. And we can all benefit from each other's viewers. So we've also got John Mark there from the States, and collectively at the moment, all told, our contributors combined to have about 120,000 YouTube subscribers. So the idea is that if we can sort of take that 120,000 YouTube subscribers and distill it down to the people who are really into what we do, who really enjoy us, who want to meet our friends and our collaborators and the people that we share ideas with and have conversations with, there's one place where they can go. And from $5 a month all the way up to, hey, you can throw in $200 a month if you want, you can subscribe and support all of us. So it's worked really well. Everyone got paid. It's all based on merit and the generosity of the people who join us there. So I hope, come and have a look. Most of the content there is free. It's rationalrise.tv. Most of it is freely available, whether you're signed in or subscriber or not. And there's a whole bunch of premium content at the moment, a lot of music albums and live concerts that can only be seen by paying subscribers. We're starting an art instructional show soon. We're hoping to have a cooking show and a gardening and homesteading show at some point. And we're getting interest from other people. We've got a potential astrophysicist coming on to do a show about the truth about climate change.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
I said, is it Sheldon Cooper? It's just a bad joke from the Big Bang.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I don't watch TV. So, yeah, but I vaguely remember that name.
That's so good.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. And it's going to really, it's been a sort of slow chugging away in my spare time to create the platform and get it ready to go.
Oh, it's a big files.
It's a big job, especially when all of us are gathering our archives. So, like for me, there's already over 1,000 videos on the platform, and we're just getting started. But now that I'm moving into a new phase in my life and my business operations, where I'll be able to work on it a lot more frequently. So 2020 is going to be a big year for me producing content, but also for Rational Rise really growing as a family. So I'm excited about that, and you'll be part of it, dear.
Yeah, I'm a part of it. And I'm also the one you said, I'm just going to give myself a plug here. James said that I was the best person ever in how I sent the video files, even though it didn't end up working for him. I was the most organized. So that means everyone else hasn't sent you the files in the most organized way. I've been the best.
Yeah, I think I said something like, Dia, you did such a fantastic job. No one has put this much care and attention into the way they structured the files that they sent me, but you did it incorrectly. Now do it again. And you did. So you're awesome.
Oh, I know. I'm a woman. I'm complicit.
It's better for everyone.
Gotta find me a man.
Yeah. Yes. I'll be praying for you, sister.
I know.
Should we burn through some more of these questions here before we before I call it a night?
Don't you just want to call it a night, or do you want to go through some more questions?
Yeah, there were quite a few questions directed at me, and since I'm here and I don't often show up, it'd be nice to answer a few if I can.
Okay, let me go up. I'll go up as high as I can because it does cut you off.
I'll stop looking and you just moderate and you just put them up on the screen.
A lot of people disagree with me. It is all apparently actually is porn. A naked woman is porn. I just think penetration is porn. Okay, hang on, let's go up.
No, that's hardcore. Like there's again, it's a category error. It's still pornography, but yeah, to be specific, Penthouse is softcore porn, but it's still porn, and it still has the same effect, and it still is, as you said quite rightly, it's a slippery slope.
Absolutely, I said that.
When I was a teenager, it used to be titillating to see people kissing in a movie, or a bit of a grind under the sheets happening in a drama, a Hollywood drama, and that is the beginning. That's the entry point for young men in particular, like teenage boys. They start with the non explicit sex scenes, and then they move into the softcore porn, and then next minute it's straight to hell. You know, like it's
and then that's not enough. Yeah, then that's not enough, and then it goes into threesomes, and then it goes into polygamy, and then it goes into bestiality, and then just
Sodom and Gomorrah, fire and brimstone.
I acknowledge all of that. Yeah. Okay, Anita Maguire. Depends on how you label conservatism, economically or culturally. We probably meant culturally, Anita.
Yeah, we're talking culture tonight. Yeah,
culture,
for sure. Yeah.
I don't understand money or math, so I can't comment on economic conservatism.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can completely pull a fast one on me with this whole RRTV that you're doing, and I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. Like I'm being put in a position of trust as the person who's curating and leading this project, so I take that very seriously.
Yeah, well, I know not to trust certain men when it comes to things that they say on a money level, but I know you're not one of those people. All right, let's have a look.
So far, so good. may I keep that reputation about me?
You always will. Was it okay for Adam and Eve to see each other naked before they were married? Of course, they weren't. There was no sin at the time. So what do you have? You elaborate.
Were they married? I don't remember a wedding scene.
Either way, they before they ate the fruit of the tree, there was no understanding of sin.
Yeah. I think it's too speculative a question to go too far into. If I'll say this, if Adam saw Eve naked before they were married, it wasn't porn.
It wasn't porn.
No, it's a naked woman in the room with you, and you got to figure out what to do with that, buddy.
Yeah.
Put a ring on it if you were there.
Well, I don't think rings existed then.
No, of course not. Well, as far as we know.
Exactly. Hang on, let me just go down.
I don't think Adam was a jeweler. We'll put it that way.
I don't think so. But he had his jewels. All right, let me go down. Hogarth versus Quarky debate. That's just silly. What
did I see?
Yeah, I'm going down. Benjamin Moles.
Oh yeah, you'll get to it. There's a few there.
This one? Oh no, that wasn't a genuine question. This isn't a question, but it's interesting. I think sometimes we can learn more from listening to other perspectives, even when they are wrong. Think of King David being criticized as he fled from his kingdom. Solid point. All right, let me go down. Did you find one that I should be clicking on?
Yes, towards the end there are a couple. Phil Cunningham asked about metal, if metal is satanic.
Metal?
As in, I think he means the genre, the music genre.
Metal?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where's that question?
And I mean, well, don't worry about bringing it up. I'll just answer it. No, it's not inherently satanic. Metal is a very broad umbrella category of music, and there's Satanism in all kinds of music to be found somewhere. But no, I don't think metal is inherently satanic.
Yeah, fair enough. Did they check his DNA before they signed? Whose DNA? I don't even know what they're talking about.
When you start going back too far, it's hard to know context. Zero Tolerance asked if I'm against erotic novels.
I don't even know why you're... Go ahead, answer.
Well,
are you against erotic novels?
I won't have them in my home.
Never had one.
I won't be encouraging any of my children to ever pick them up, and I'll be discouraging them if they ever do.
That's what
erotic novel is just the intellectual form of pornography, and it's what women use. Men prefer the visual form. Women prefer trashy books about ripped studs and 50 Shades of Grey and all that kind of garbage. It's just porn for women. Women aren't as visual as men. So yeah, I'm against them in the same way that I'm against porn.
Apparently someone wants to...
And I'm not against all eroticism in novels. I should be clear. I'm against novels that are dedicated to eroticism. Like there's eroticism in my novels. It's part of life. And hopefully it's directed in a wholesome way. But yeah, pornography for pornography's sake and gratuitous sex in media is not good for society.
Oh, I would agree with that completely. I don't know what this means. Dear, clothed in the spirit, though, isn't that right? I think that's right. I don't remember. I don't remember the whole entire Bible. I'm not like some Christians that can just quote a Bible verse. I'm not there yet. I'm
I
working.
don't know what he's responding to there, so we're a
We
bit late for
were
that
talking
one.
about Adam and Eve earlier, so I knew what he was responding to.
Oh, I
About
see. Yeah.
yeah. Let's keep going down. Oh, sorry, that's irrelevant to us. Hey, James Fox Higgins, do you attend church regularly, and to what denomination do you associate yourself with?
I haven't attended church regularly for the last 12 months, mostly because I've been living away from my home region, where I consider my home church to be. And I'm about to move back to that region, so we'll be recommencing our weekly church going, which we're excited about, going back to our old church family. The church that I belong to is a Pentecostal church,
Oh
but
no!
I don't associate myself. I associate with Pentecostals. I don't call myself a Pentecostal Christian. You know,
No.
I'm still far too early in my walk to make any convicted selection of a denomination that is more Christian or more true than any other. But I would say where I'm leaning at the moment in my curiosity and in my observation of where the kind of Christianity that the world needs is going to be found, I think it's going to be found in traditional Catholicism, not post-Vatican II cucked Catholicism, but traditional pre-Vatican II Catholicism, which seems to be on the rise as a bit of an underground church who reject the current pope. Yeah, so I'm watching with great interest what's going on in the Catholic world, and I'm finding a lot of Christian courage there that I'm not seeing in other corners. So that's as close as I get to claiming a denomination.
I'm happy to look into really early Catholicism because the early Catholic Church is the original catalyst for Christianity today. It's just obviously gone so far.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I haven't heard of that, but I do know that Abby Johnson from Planned Parenthood, who's now pro-life, is a Catholic. She chose Catholicism, and I found that weird.
Well, yeah, the Catholic Church has been the real bulwark against the satanic and hedonistic and degenerate propaganda that's been emerging in America over the last century, and that's why they're hated the most. Catholics are hated the most, even among Christians. Catholics are hated the most by the people who are gaining from the degeneracy. So yeah, whoever is hated by the purveyors of degeneracy is loved by me. There's a really good question here that just popped up that I want to answer if I can.
Yeah, the one I put that.
No, but we can answer that too.
Go. Which one do you want to answer?
Now, where is it? Philip Cunningham again asked if I can recommend if I have any recommended reading top 5 books. I can tell you the top 5 books that spring to mind that I've read recently and really enjoyed and would recommend. But I wouldn't be able to tell you an all-time top 5 because my interests and curiosities change so much over time. But at the moment, I'm towards the tail end of a really interesting book called Cryptonomicon by Neil Stevenson. My buddy Sven's been trying to get me to read that for a long time, and I attempted it, but it was difficult. Really long book, but it's going right into the history of World War II from a fictitious angle with regard to cryptology. I do recommend this book, although I don't have a final adjudication for it because I haven't finished it yet. But other excellent books that I've read this year, in particular, Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. Absolute must read, especially for Christians, especially for Catholics, I would say. What else? In the non-fiction side of things, I'm sure you've got a lot of Christian viewers. I would really, really, really highly recommend the book On the Existence of Gods, which is a written debate between Vox Day and Dominic Saltarelli on the existence of gods. It's a formal, classical style, written, logical debate, and it's probably the single best intellectual proof of the necessary existence of at least one god in history. So that's a really solid book I recommend, and I don't want to take too much more time. but I can't. I could pull a couple more out if I thought about it, but probably on this question a bit long.
That's all right. So is the Song of Solomon from the Bible quite erotic? It's certainly poetic. How would you describe that? The Song of
Song of
Solomon.
Songs. I need to read it. I mean, I've read it, but it's been a long time.
There is a portion in there where it sounds like there's two women being sexual towards one another, but I think, but it's not accurate that they are. It's that they're hugging. But see, lesbians and the gay community have tried to utilize that Bible verse as a way of advocating that the Bible has had homosexuality in it. Of course, the Bible has homosexuality in it, but it's never in a positive light. But they use Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's learn. Let's have Gay History Month. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Song of Solomon. Yeah. No, I don't. I wouldn't be qualified to comment on that at the moment.
Fair enough.
I am intrigued to pick it up and have another read.
You have a read of it. But just to finish my point, the lesbian relationship that they're trying to pretend is there is between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. So it's not there. It's stupid. No one would do that. And if you did do that, you're really a degenerate. Do you like Kanye West's album, Jesus is King? I haven't heard it, but I like Kanye now. I've never liked him. I never hated him, but I've never liked him. I'm so glad that this figure who people used to think was an Illuminati person trying to lead the world in some capacity has completely turned his back on the controllers, if that's a thing, and is now like an out and proud Christian and Trump supporter. I think it's awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, Kanye's really gone off the plantation, and my respect for him has grown as that's happened. And no, I've listened to Jesus is King.
Is it good?
Maybe about 6 times now.
So it's good.
Well, it's good enough for me to want to listen to it 6 times. And again, there's, I think, the short summary is it's truly excellent. I think it's the beginning of a Black Christian renaissance of sorts. It's the first album I've listened to in a long time that I genuinely consider to be a work of art. It's a bold take on Christianity as well, because it's not just going straight for that squeaky worship, we love you, Lord, thanks for all our blessings kind of style that you get in a lot of Christian music. It's got balls, and it's challenging the political sphere through Christianity. And so obviously I admire that. Musically, very, very brilliant, and a great selection of collaborators on it. I think there's only one track on there that I think is weak. I think it's too short on the whole. And I think Kanye was a little too liberal with the auto-tune on his own voice. Other than that, it's really, really good.
Cool. So one of my moderators just had a statement. Song of Solomon is kind of erotic, but is not in such a way that I would think anyone would get aroused while reading it, but certainly demonstrates how they arouse each other. Good to know.
Look, yeah, I mean, erotic pleasure and erotic love is absolutely a natural and beautiful part of being human, but it must be, like all pleasures and all the good things, too much of a good thing is not good for you. Too much of any of the things that are sweet and beautiful in life become toxic. And so what is the proper way to direct our erotic interests and our pleasures? It's in the traditional family, in the sacrament of marriage, and between one man and one woman for life, is the ideal to strive for, because you can journey through the shallow layers of erotic pleasure together and get to something that's really heart and spirit led. And it's a very beautiful thing when you experience that, especially over a long time with somebody.
Does James have a printed King Steel version of the Bible?
No. What's the King Steel version?
It's steel isn't a real thing. It's never mind. I'll explain off camera.
It's a joke. Is this about? Okay, yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of that version of the Bible.
Who are your influences as far as music tastes and style is concerned?
It's like, give me a top 10 list. I've had a very, very broad range of musical influences over the years, and it's always changing. And I really couldn't point to. I guess I have to be fair and say that when I was really young, I absolutely loved the Doors for some reason, and I still have a real nostalgic affinity for the Doors' music, but I later got into acid jazz, funk, soul music, and then Jamiroquai kind of splashed on the scene, and that really that gave me a direction to move in. And I set a goal as a boy, I want to work with these guys. This is the kind of music that I think is great. so I spent a lot of years working towards that, and I did get to work with them, got scored with their musicians on my album, and got to perform a gig with them in Germany. So I got to the end of that rainbow and achieved the thing I set out to. And then, lo and behold, my musical interest began to change. So yeah, lots and lots of different musical influences, but I guess I'm most comfortable in the sort of blue-eyed soul and funk kind of genres. It's where I perform best.
SD, have you read On the Jews and Their Lies by Martin Luther?
No, I haven't. I shall add that to my list. I'm
Yeah,
currently reading E. Michael Jones's book on sexual liberation and the Jews. I don't think that's the title, but that's the general topic of it. Yeah, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, Philip Cunningham again. Have you read Pascendi by Pope Saint Pius X on modernism?
Nope.
Nope. Cool. Quick answer
Should
from you.
Gosh,
I don't know.
I wish more than anything that I had time to read more. At the moment, I average about. I'm not a very fast reader either, because it's only a habit that I've picked up in my 30s. Unfortunately, I just didn't read, much at all in my teens or 20s. I was interested in other things, and so starting to read in my 30s, realizing how slow I am developing that skill. But I'm on an average of about probably 20 books a year at the moment, and I'm hoping I can increase that, because there's so much I want to read.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess me too. But I always get stuck in front of. I always procrastinate, and it's not good.
Turn off the YouTube. I mean, not while you're watching us, because we're awesome. But after us, turn off the YouTube and pick up a book. It's a much more wholesome one, and it's a wholesome form of escapism when you read quality fiction too, because you get transported into marvelous other places, like Middle Earth or Narnia are probably the best two examples. But they can also, as you journey in those fictional lands, you can really learn a lot about humanity and God and our place in the whole story.
Have you read James Mason's book Siege?
Nope.
No. Anyway, all right, guys. I think we're done with it. I tried to turn off earlier, and you wanted the questions. I was literally cut them off.
There are a couple of good ones that I was eager to answer.
It's a good little.
There was one other one there that I think is relevant to our Catholic talk, which was just, am I a sedevacantist? And no, I mean, I'm not even Catholic, so I don't think I would be able to make a choice about that unless I was really wanting to commit to a Catholic path. But I know a lot of sedevacantists. I like them, and I think there's a good case to be made for the idea that there is no sitting pope, that the last two popes have been frauds, not Catholic, and not promoting Christianity and the Christian faith as they should, and that the true Catholic Church has become an underground church without a leader. I mean, the drama of it appeals to me, but also the evidence points, some of it really points in that direction. So I'm very open to the idea.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm happy to leave it there. I know someone put Spirit of Eden. I don't know. I don't know what he's saying, but I'll put it up just in case. Are you about talks the Spirit of Eden? Do you know what that is? I don't know what that is.
No, I don't. It's only so much time in the week, people. It's a real shame. I wish I could consume everything that's good.
People just assume that we know some of the books. I wish I could. I wish I knew half the stuff that they ask, because clearly they're good. They're good books and stuff.
It's hard because like I really try to spend most of my time. Family first, and then whatever time I have after that, I try to spend that time being productive and producing. Writing my books, doing my podcast or other people's podcasts, and running my businesses. So I'm always trying to be productive. And when you're a producer, the major cost of that is you don't get time to consume. So I have very, very small time assigned in the day to be able to consume. And it's like, do I sit down and watch a YouTube documentary, or listen to a podcast, or do I read a book? And more, the older I get, the more I just pick up the books.
Well done. That's a fantastic thing to do. we'll leave it there. Everyone catch RRTV. We'll be promoting it like crazy. YouTube has changed its as of December 10th. YouTube, if you were not deemed commercially viable, you can probably just lose your channel. I've kept it to this point because I've been fine. I've never espoused anything I believe to be too far, but with this commercially viable stuff and all this talk about Jews, I'm sure that at some point my channel will be gone. Who really knows? But
those who you can't question tend to be your rulers.
Thou shalt not steal. Benjamin really wants me to read this Bible verse. Thou shalt not steal. Okay, done. But yeah, so guys, catch my show next Wednesday. I have Jim Savage, former member of One Nation, still associated with the True Blue crew. He will be on my channel. What are you grinning at?
Sorry, I was just laughing. SD commented, "Have you read Penthouse?" In the context of all our book requests. That's no, don't put
I didn't buy that. It was sent to me so that I would have enough research.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, dear. It's been a good, fun chat.
When are you next on your channel? When are you next up?
No idea. About to move house, so things are up in the air, and I'm in the middle of a few things at the moment. So yeah, things are a bit slow on my channel, but come Christmas time, we're gonna get nuts over there. So yeah, make sure you're a bell subscriber at Rationalize TV on YouTube.
Yes, and yes, and on his channel. And if you do a Christmas special, don't exclude me from it this year.
I think I'm gonna have to exclude everyone from this year's Christmas special. That was an insane amount of work for a 7-hour live stream. 10 songs. I mean, it was all pre-recorded in the end, but it was a 10-hour video with 10 interviews, 10 songs. It was crazy. I shouldn't have done it, but it was good fun.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You guys are fantastic. Tune in tomorrow for the Uncockables. It starts at 8:30 if everything goes well and to plan.
I'll be there. We're gonna tear down Ben Shapiro, I think.
Oh yeah, he's a Talmudic Jew, I think, not a Torah Jew, so that's disappointing. But
my main interest in him is that he's a liar. So we'll expose some of that hopefully a bit.
Well, everyone lies. I've lied before. I'm sure you're a liar too.
No, there's a difference between people who we're gonna get into it. Everyone lies, but not everyone's a liar.
I know what you're saying, but that's not how God sees it. But I gotcha. You're right. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, James. I love you very much. You're one of my favorite people on earth, and I'm really glad that you finally came back on my channel. Yay!
Thanks, dear. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we'll be seeing you over at Rationalize TV. And once we launch you're coming on my show.
Yay! That's all I've been going for 2 years.
I'll finally validate you, dear.
Okay, bye guys. Thanks everyone. Thank you all.
Good night.
End broadcast. Here we go.